Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. Conspiracy. It's a very charged word. It can mean anything from your boss at your job hiding your records so that way he can give you a lower raise and keep you from getting a bonus, all the way up to hidden powers manipulating economics and empires from behind the scenes to accomplish whatever their nefarious objectives might be. The truth is somewhere in the middle. And I'm going to tell you the secret that invalidates almost every single conspiracy, but not all. David Icke, very controversial person, seems to think there's reptilians in control of everything. Not only that, but shape-shifting reptilians. Now, I'm not going to personally attack the guy. And indeed, sometimes the rich and the powerful seem to act in ways that are alien to those of us in the trenches on the front line doing what we got to do to survive every single day. And there's something to be said for old money. The Emperor of Japan, the royalty of Saud, and the royal family. One of the things about being in control, of being a real force, is you don't advertise. So, the Kingdom of Saud, Saudi Arabia, Japan, and Britain are too obsessed with their pageantry and walking into places and being greeted by 10,000 guards, all of the exact same color and stuff like that, to really be planning world domination. Could they be in on several plots? Absolutely. These are people with ties that go back hundreds of years, if not further. It may even be some sort of a global game of Risk where each one has their territories and they're maneuvering agents behind the scenes so that way they can have the most influence. Or it could be a very clear-cut divide where we're going to let the duchy or whatever it is, the Kingdom of Morocco, govern affairs in this area, but they report to this other kingdom and we all get it the way we want. That being said, the kings and queens and jacks and aces of this planet have substantial wealth, but it's not really wealth you can put your hands on. They're given their allowances every year, and they probably spend most of them, but they have the authority to grant titles. So let's pick on Elon Musk, because why not? Everybody else picks on Elon Musk. Elon Musk can become Lord Elon Musk, and that gives him a little pat on the back and gives him a trophy on his wall. We know people love stickers and ribbons and trophies that they can hang up. Even if it's a backwards little bog in the middle of nowhere, that still means he's been knighted by royalty and he has the royal ear. And when he can attend, the princes, galas, and that's what these things are. They're social events. They make it out to be this big deal about we're getting all these, let's say, Hollywood stars together. It's just an excuse to come together for them and chinwag. Hey, I'm working on a film about poverty in Africa. Oh, really? I'm working on a film where alien space people come down and take over our government. Shh, don't talk about that here. There's too many people listening. And that's really where conspiracies lie. It's not with the people with names because their power is pretty limited. Now let's talk about the people with money. your bigwigs, your CEOs and owners. Well, I'm going to pick on Elon Musk. I could do several other people, but I think Elon Musk is the best well known. He's got stupid money. And despite the fact he says some ludicrous things from time to time because his handlers don't check his Twitter or X posts, he has done a net positive for the planet. Tesla, and I'm not sold on that yet, and I think there's still a lot of innovation to be done. But SpaceX, total kudos for him. He took his own money and built a space fleet that he's upgrading. He does missions for NASA. Now, most billionaires, trillionaires, whatever he is at today, check your local listings, decide to spend their money on a sports team and play fantasy football with real people. And that's what they think the epitome of wealth is. Until recently, I said that was one of the good things about Walmart and the Waltons and that whole group of people. But then they bought the Denver Broncos because they like controlling people. And this is where I think conspiracy really comes from. The people with the money. Now, the people with the money, they're not waiting for 50, 100 years in the future so their grandchildren can be the king of the world or whatever it is. They want that now for them. They don't want to be remembered as the ancestors of great power. They want to be the great power. Look throughout history. While Julius always refused the title of king, that was because he knew the Romans were ready to revolt if he even touched it. His son Augustus, they made up a new title for him. Imperator, emperor. Because it's not like king at all. It's better than being a king. You have more power, you have more money, more everything that you need. But you're not a king, so the Romans will accept it. And that's where I think you see alliances that we will never quite understand the depth of. The race for the White House. There was conspiracies there. Not only to hide evidence, but also these are families going back forever. I've always said I feel bad for Jeb Bush because he was third in line. And even though I think he's slightly more intelligent than his other brother and even his father, he really got the short end of the stick. But let's follow their family's money back into World War II. The Bush family was a major oil exporter. And in 1939, the hammer, well, let's say by 1941, the hammer comes down and the U.S. is no longer shipping oil to Germany. So he rebrands his tankers in Panama and sends them to Spain. And Spain sells the oil to the Third Reich and keeps that going. That's right. George Bush, the current one, his grandfather, was supplying the Germans and making a good profit off of doing it. After the war, they were even thinking about putting him on trial for what is essentially a war crime, letting the enemy war machine continue. The only reason they didn't is the eldest Bush, he also created the USOs, which was a place where the soldiers could relax and enjoy themselves, maybe even get celebrity visits and stuff like that. And because that had such a positive effect, they didn't want to throw the guy in jail because it'd be like, yeah, the man who brought the troops a little bit of comfort, yeah, we're getting rid of him. He created an organization that was so well loved, they couldn't touch him about his criminal misdeeds. That's a conspiracy. And that money is still going today. It's already funded 2 presidents. It might fund a third. Because Jeb has a very eloquent way of talking that, and he has charisma his brother didn't. His only problem is his last name. But that doesn't stop anybody from running, as showed with the Clintons. Bill Clinton was not known as a nice person. And that's why Hillary had such problems. She didn't ingratiate herself while she was in the White House or in the time till she decided to be president. And her last name was like an anchor around her neck. Otherwise, that family might still be looking at power today. Maybe not. No, she'd be out, and then maybe the kid would be looking at it. Chelsea, I believe. But that's an alternative future. That's the big money moving around behind the scenes. And they're willing to stand back and say, yeah, we'll let somebody go first because we want to put our money on a winner. This is not even conspiracy. This is politics as normal. Ronald Reagan did not want George Bush as his vice president. If you go back and look, he is constantly saying, no, Bush is a criminal. I don't like him. And then a deal was made in the back room. And suddenly he came out and announced George Bush Sr. as his vice president. Then mysteriously, an assassination attempt is made on Reagan. Well, Reagan was older at this point, and he's tough enough to survive a shot from a handgun. Yeah, we can talk all we want about it was only a .22 and it was deflected and this, that, the other thing. That kind of shot, especially with 1980s technology, is enough to incapacitate someone. And that was kind of a reminder for him to butt out and let George Bush make the decisions while he would go on late night talk shows and, be the actor he was born to be. All worked out behind closed doors. This is on the record. Look it up. So we have political conspiracies, at least in one country, if not more. We still have this ridiculous notion of trickle-down economics that has never been validated by any country that's put it into place. And yet we keep going back to it, saying, oh, this time it'll work, this time it'll work. It's been nearly 40 years, if not longer, since that diagram was made on the napkin. But the people with interest in it, specifically the millionaires and the billionaires, still say, oh yeah, this economic system will work because it does work for them. They don't care about us. They don't care about stuff trickling down, but it makes them more money. And this is where I think we can look at conspiracies and mostly shoot them down. While they do happen, any of the weird ones like we never made a landing on the moon, or they're hiding artifacts from us on Mars, or things like that. It does the millionaires and the billionaires no good. And they would shut it down themselves. One of the reasons I'm pretty convinced there's no such thing as aliens and little green men and crazy things like that is because of Donald Trump. And I'm actually giving him credit here. I don't like him. But if he was given intelligence that said we're having dealings with the intergalactic empire of Shuzuba, or whatever the heck it is, Donald Trump would be happy to be the president that revealed that to everybody. He would do it without a second thought. So the fact that there's no disclosure, although Donald Trump did create the Space Force in pretty interesting circumstances, he flew that under the radar, and he did such a bait and switch where, here, you want real conspiracies? This is another one. Donald Trump promised he was going to tell the FBI and the CIA they had to turn all their records over to the people. And everyone's like, ooh, disclosure. Next thing Donald Trump did was create the Space Force. Here's something neat about all those records. They belong to specific organizations and specific people. And Getting a Freedom of Information request, you pretty much have to know which department it's in, who's responsible for it, which desk drawer it's buried under, before they'll even admit, yes, it is. Believe me, I've had to do some FOIA requests, and it is absolutely frustrating for what you get. So while all these records were being transferred to the Space Force, because the Space Force would be responsible for them, which is responsible government, the CIA and the FBI were sending them on saying, we don't have to deal with them anymore. And then they had a couple records left over. They turned those over to the public. The public was like, oh, well, at least Donald Trump tried. Yep, he did. And I give him credit. That was a brilliant move on his part. Now, does that mean that we are hiding the International Brotherhood of Space Aliens and they're coming down and stealing people? No. But you know how many secrets there are involved in space stations and going to other planets and stuff? A ton. They're not even showing us everything that they have, and that's because they're still developing more. That, I think it was TASS spacecraft that went off the other day or something, whatever it was, it has a brand new ion drive in it. Now, ion drives have been being used since the 60s. The Russians actually use them on the space station for station keeping purposes, which means keeping it the right way up, the right attitude, so that way it can be focused on the sun with all of its solar panels and stuff like that. But this is the next generation one. And of course, it's been developed in secret. It's got all sorts of crazy tech in it. They have the Alcubierre drive, which they keep revisiting. They wouldn't do it if the science wasn't there, but people keep coming up with the idea, if we do this, that technology is locked away. Most of Tesla's stuff is still rated so ridiculously top secret that you and I are never going to find it. And only 2016 they were declassifying World War I codes. Yeah, we're a little bit far World War I codes. We're way more advanced than that in technology. The stuff we have today would make the Enigma machine look like a child's toy. And no offense to the people that engineered that. They were doing a great job with what they had. They just needed to take information security a little more seriously. And these are all the things that are locked away, and that's the real conspiracy. People have so many secrets, they don't even know what's secret anymore. Companies are the same way. We have this new process. Volvo, they had this process where when you hooked in environmental gear, it basically injected another program which told it, run your diagnosis but return only positive numbers. And they went through a whole thing where they were just, all their vehicles were passing and people like, oh, Volvo makes fantastic cars. No, they make fantastic software. Their cars are cars. I don't want to insult Volvo, but just because their engineers had figured that out, and it was kept such a secret until somebody finally said, hey, look at this. So conspiracies do exist. Probably not on the scale we imagine, and if so, the billionaires are the ones driving them. The billionaires do have clubs where they get together. Bohemian Grove is a good example. What's that European club? I can't remember it at the moment. They do have reasons to get together. And you'll see them break bread and negotiate things, and that's where you start getting publications because they decided they wanted a study on the population 2030. And those do come trickling out. But that's their excuse to get together and party. And there's a lot of evidence that when they party, they're pretty debauched. The 33 Club in Disney. I don't think that's a very high level one, but you probably have to get membership there before you get membership to any of the, like the Bilderberg group or somebody like that. And they're able to put these things in plain sight. The 33 Club has secrets. And they're very strict about guarding even who's a member. Masonry doesn't have secrets. That's not the right way to put it. They're not a secret society, but they are a society with secrets. They won't let you know who's a member, who's not a member, and stuff like that. And that's just the way that they play the game. But they're very benign, and they're mostly just there to service their members. The 33 Club, if they won't tell you their membership list or anything like that, you know Mickey Mouse has something serious. The Bilderberg Group, they invite people beyond their core members, and those people strangely wind up in other positions of power. It's like the Bilderbergs are where you audition. Bohemian Grove, it seems that's where, well, the Masons say the Shriners are where the Masons go to party, and I think Bohemian Grove follows roughly the same thing. And I'm going to save the rest because I do want to talk about Der Spin, the spider, and Bohemian Grove, where the owl tells the spiders that they are not welcome here. Well, that's for another time. This is just a brief summary of Conspiracies. I could go on, but I don't like making videos much beyond 21 minutes, if I can avoid it. So with that, we wish to thank you for joining us for this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, because sharing is caring. Don't forget to do the usual stuff like subscribing if you haven't subscribed already. And if you click on the notification icon, it'll let you know whenever we release a new episode, which is usually noon every single day. We hope you have a fantastic day.